What up? What up? What up? What up? What's happening, Steeler Nation? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the latest episode of I can't find it. Right there. Terrible Towel Tuesday. Trying to get my finger right. Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the Steel basement. And I'm going to be honest with y'all early. There ain't nothing to talk about. It's nothing really. It's nothing really to talk about. I'm going to just let y'all know that in advance. I only got a couple small things to talk about. That's it. It's that time of year. But hey, that doesn't mean I can't come on and give you guys some content, have some fun with you guys, politic with y'all, see what y'all got to say in the comments. Maybe y'all will throw me a couple things to talk about. But like I said, man, this time of the year, it's not a whole lot to talk about. Phone calls are open. The queue is available. For anybody who wants to call in and say whatever it is they want to say, area 619-924-0818. And we'll get to that very soon. Because like I said, nothing much to talk about. But let's say hello to the early commenters. Who we got here? Joshua Shield. Hello, Lanisha. Hello, Lanisha. Lovely lady of the chat, man. Good to see you. Let's see who else we got up in here. Rajon 39, Crazy Ron Gaming, Boss Una, my man Y Diggy in the building, Cut Boy 412. And I know some of you guys are probably saying, hey, there's Mason Rudolph. I keep saying Rudolph. Mason Cole to talk about. I am going to talk about him, but I did an independent video on that. So that's why I said nothing new. But I am going to talk about that a little bit. Brent Fox in the building. Steelers cards. Kev So Nice. Leonard Green. My good brother Kenyon in the building, of course. Who else is up in here, man? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Sonny Rothmiller. Not a whole lot of comments yet, so, I should be able to read all the names, just making sure I didn't miss anybody. And I think that's it. Jay's upper teeth. I like that. That's dope. What's up, man? He said, hey, Sim, I like that. Jay's upper teeth. Debbie. There goes Debbie, another lovely, lovely lady in the chat, man. Guys, y'all know the routine. Make sure you roll out that red carpet for the ladies. Give them a proper hello. Both Lanisha and Debbie are in here, and any of the other ladies of Steeler Nation that come through tonight, y'all know what to do. Mark Cunningham, UT local bands, and Derek Moore. Okay, so we'll end it right there, and I'll get right to it. Like I said, guys, not a whole lot to talk about, man. But listen, my commitment is to give you guys some type of content each and every Tuesday, and I've been trying to give you some intermediate content as well when it drops, like the Mason Cole video I did. So I'm going to keep that coming, keep that going. At least we're getting closer to more topics to talk about. We're 2 weeks or so away from free agency. I know the combine is going on right now. The combine isn't really my thing. Just being honest, the combine doesn't always tell me what I need to know. A lot of times I'll look and see how guys test it, and then I'll go take a look at what they did on field. So I'm on field. So I'm about to do that. Y'all know I'm about to start my process of looking at college film. Kenyon is always way ahead of that than me. My process is usually let them get through the combine, let me get through some of the, the testing, and then I go try to see what these guys did on field, whether they tested well or they didn't test well at the combine. That's just always been my process. So again, free agency is coming up, man. And last week, I believe, or actually in the independent video that I did talking about Mason Cole, I did briefly mention a few of the guys that are free agent centers. But the question really is, man, and what is Omar Khan going to do? What is the Khan artist, along with Mike Tomlin and AR2, what are they going to do in free agency and or draft? And that's why I titled this video, He Has My Attention. Because Omar Khan is doing things that we don't normally see happen in the Steelers organization, especially from the GM position or just organization-wide, right? The releasing of Mason Cole came out of nowhere. And the reason why I said came out of nowhere, because most people would have assumed that they would have waited to do that. They would have maybe carried him into camp because they don't have any real option. You know, I did hear the good guys at Steelers Depot said that, you know, guys like James Daniel has played center. I don't know if they're thinking about doing that. We know guys like, what's my man, the big boy's name? Nate Herbig has a little bit of center background. But again, are any of these guys legit centers? You know, some of the other guys like Spencer and Dylan Cook, which I believe Cook is more of a tackle. But there seems to be perhaps some guys maybe on the roster that are kind of swing guys. But again, those guys can't really be the answer, right? But what has made them confident enough to just go ahead and just release Mason Cole so soon? Interesting fact, before the roster bonus. And I thought that when I did the independent video about Mason Cole, I thought I did see that he was due a roster bonus. Again, shout outs to Steelers Depot. They confirmed that he was due a roster bonus. So that kind of makes sense, you know, going into free agency or before you get to that roster bonus time period, they want to get rid of him, cut the bait before paying that bonus. But then what happens out the blue, the NFL decided they're going to increase the salary cap. $30 million more for everyone across the league. The cap, I think, is set at 255.4. So that gives everybody a little bit of cap room to play with. Again, guys, if you're not familiar with cap, I strongly recommend go doing some research, or if you want to go the easy route, a guy like Dave Bryan from Steelers Depot is always on the money with the cap. He explained on their last podcast on yesterday where it would kind of leave the Steelers, you know, after doing roster displacement and all that type of stuff as far as where they sit. And he said that it roughly would sit them at right around $9 million or so under the cap right now before a whole lot of other stuff would happen. But then they're clearly expecting that the Steelers will go into free agency with, he said he's expecting them to go in with between 15 to 20 million. And there's ways to get there. There's other guys that can be released. There's restructures that can happen. So we'll have to sit back and wait and see. But all in all, it seems like the Steelers are in good shape. And shout outs to the NFL, man, for increasing that cap. And again, I see some people upset saying, well, that means this team will be able to do things too. Well, so what's wrong with having an even playing field? Why are we always worrying about what other teams can do? Why are we worrying about that? We don't want no handicaps, right? So why we always want to make it seem like the Steelers are supposed to get this certain advantage, but another team shouldn't? It is what it is. It's league-wide. I'm just happy that it seems like the Steelers will have some money to play with going in free agency, because now they desperately have some positions to look at. Center is top of the heap. I wouldn't be surprised if they double dip. But it all is going to depend on who. If they bring in a center during free agency, it all depends on what level of center. What level of money? Are they bringing in a veteran guy that's going to be in position to compete, or a stopgap type of guy? Or are they going to sign one of the free agent centers that, you know, are starter capable, and not even starter capable, but the money will demand that they start? Like, you know, that salary is going to let you know what their plans are for any of the people that they sign via free agency. So he has my attention, man. And that's really the main topic that I have, is Omar Khan having my attention. What is he going to do in free agency? What is the plan? I would love to know. Are guys like Patrick Peterson safe? Because I think there's other roster bonuses that are due as well. So I'm glued to the news, man. I'm glued to the Steelers news to see if anybody else should be cut. Didn't do my homework, so I don't know what day the roster bonus kicks in. Maybe one of you guys in the comments will know that. But my thing is this, and I've kind of changed my mind a little bit. I said this in the solo video that I did specifically about Mason Cole. I said that I would prefer the Steelers to get a solid free agent center. I said originally I preferred them to go that route. I'm kind of changing my mind a little bit because there are some guys that I believe, not that I'm so familiar with these guys, but I do think it is possible if you get a high level center in the draft that they could start the first year. I believe you could find a Creed Humphrey type of guy, right? And again, I don't know who all of the, prospects are at the moment. I keep hearing a couple names, that are supposed to be like the top two, but I haven't done my research there. But what I'm saying is it possible if you draft a center in the first 1 or 2 rounds, could that guy be your starter? I think it is possible because, again, I had to go back and look at other examples, like a Creed Humphrey type of guy. And there's been others, but you know what I'm saying? Like at first I was more on the let's go with a veteran. And a lot of these veteran guys are young. Most of these dudes, man, with the exception of what's the guy for the Jets? I can't remember his name now, but he's the only one that's older. He's like 31. The rest of those free agent centers, man, are 27 and under. I think the kid from Tennessee is 25. So at first I felt like I would rather do that instead of drafting. But if you can get one of the top tier or high projected centers that is a bona fide center, not a project, I'm not opposed to spending the first 1 or 2 picks on the center. I'm not opposed to that. Because honestly, guys, we're at the point right now with the Steelers as far as offensively, it's building from inside out. We got skill position guys. Unless we're talking about quarterback. I know quarterback is still a question mark. But you have a dog receiver in George Pickens. You have another very savvy, crafty, one of the best route runners in the league, and a Deontay Johnson. We just need Deontay to be more consistent. And really, it wasn't even about his consistency last year. Last year was more about him and George Pickens keeping their emotions in check. Now, I didn't like some of the stuff that, was coming out about Deontay Johnson, and even some of the stuff we could see ourselves, not really being the best teammate. I don't like seeing that from the veteran. The leader of that group, excuse me, even though Allen Robinson was the elder statesman, Deontay Johnson was the veteran for the Steelers at wide receiver. And I just didn't like seeing that from him because, again, you got George Pickens, who is kind of a loose cannon. What kind of example are you setting for him? So I didn't like that. But you cannot take away Deontay Johnson's ability. So him and George Pickens and whoever else they bring in there to be a second, a third and fourth receiver. We have talent at the skill positions. We got talent at tight end with Fryer moving. Can we get Donnell Washington going in the Arthur Smith system? The running back position is talent there with 2 running backs. The question mark again is quarterback. Who is going to be the quarterback? More than likely Kenny Pickett, but is Kenny Pickett are we going to be saying that he is talented throughout this season? Or is it going to be, similar to what we've seen this past year where he's up and down? But what I'm saying is, taking the quarterback out of it, it is time for the Steelers to really invest in the offensive line. It's been a long time since the Steelers committed to offensive line. And what I mean by that is this. They did draft Broderick Jones last year in the first round. Right. But how about taking that cowboy approach? Remember when the Cowboys a few years back, maybe about 6-7 years ago now, when they just heavily invested in the offensive line? I want to say their first round pick might have been 3 straight years was an offensive lineman. And look at how that offensive line panned out for them. That's what the Steelers need to start doing now, is investing in these positions where they can get these long-term guys, long-term center, long-term tackle. So I would not be upset at all if they were to spend the first or second pick on a center or even a tackle. But again, free agency is really going to give us a peek behind the curtain as far as which way they're going to go. Of course, there's other positions that the Steelers need to address: inside linebacker, cornerback, obviously, safety, strong safety. But again, Omar Khan, man, he has my attention because he's shaking. He's moving and shaking. He's doing some things that we're not accustomed to seeing. You know, I'm not accustomed to seeing a guy released that early in the cycle. I'm just not, you know? So those are just my thoughts. What else do you guys have in the comments? Let me see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Only have one phone call in the queue right now, so I'm going to go to the phone lines here in a moment. Like I told you guys, man, you know, and I'm sure y'all understand, this time of year, there's not a whole lot to talk about, so the show isn't going to be but so long during this time. Once free agency hits, I'm sure we'll have more to talk about then, but we're going to go through these lull periods for a while, man, until we kind of get to mini camp at least, or OTAs, you know, or unless something, you know, something happens, or a signing or firing or something. But it's not a whole lot in the news cycle. While I wait for you guys in the comments, let me just check, you know, a couple sites here just to make sure I'm not missing something important that I wanted to discuss with you guys. Let's see. They're saying the Falcons released Jonnu Smith. And they're calling him Arthur Smith's favorite tight end. Does that mean anything to me? Not necessarily. You know, Pat Fryermuth obviously is going to be on the roster. I think obviously Donnell Washington, you know, with him being a draft pick last year. Do the Steelers want to bring in a third tight end with Smith kind of having more of the heavy packages at times? Maybe. You know, Connor Haywood is really not that. He's not the heavy tight end type. You know, his body structure just doesn't lend that ability. And I'll be honest, I was tired of seeing some of the times last year when we were, you know, bringing Connor Haywood on these wham blocks or these, you know, crack blocks, and he's getting blown up because his body stature just didn't match up well with some of these guys. So, not saying I want to get rid of Connor Haywood. I absolutely do not. You know, he's a secret weapon, so to speak, because you can line him up in different things and get some matchups. But if the Steelers want to have a 4 tight end pack, you know, have 4 tight ends on the roster, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in somebody like that who's familiar with Arthur Smith's system. But again, let's not forget, what's the kid's name, man, that plays special teams? Number 87. Williams. Rodney Williams, I think his name is. Again, this guy plays special teams. He is a tight end. So it's one of those things, you know, like, are the Steelers really looking to replace any of the tight ends currently on the roster? I'm not talking about us. I'm saying the Steelers. Again, Pat Fryermuth isn't going anywhere. He might even get an extension. Donnell Washington was a draft pick last year. His spot is pretty safe. Connor Haywood was a draft, you know, he was drafted, a couple years ago? So I'm not going to say his spot is safe, but again, you don't really view him as a tight end. So there may be an opportunity to add another tight end, but we'll see. You know, I won't speculate too much on that. Let me see, guys. Was there anything else? You know, I usually see a lot of stuff, man, in the media and the news, and I bring it here to you guys to see how y'all feel and give you my opinion. You know, a lot of times y'all want to hear what I have to say. Other than that, I think that's about it. Like I said, man, slow news cycle. I was hoping that Omar Khan was going to speak today, but they're saying that his press conference was postponed, so I don't know if it's rescheduled or he just decided not to interview. So I was hoping to hear from that, but, you know. But I think that's about it, guys. Let me see. Do y'all have anything in the chat? Let me see if y'all got anything in the chat before I go to the phones. Let's see what y'all got. Mark Cunningham says, I can't wait to see what Khan does. We need to make a decision on Pat Pete. I don't know if he can play safety. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, Patrick Peterson, he had probably his best portion of the season last year at safety. But at the same time, he's not the primary guy that you want to play at safety. And here's the reason why. We got to remember why Patrick Peterson was playing safety in the first place. It was because Minkah Fitzpatrick was injured. You're not taking Minkah off the field. I don't think you're playing Minkah as a strong safety all the time and let Patrick Peterson be the free, even though Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin, y'all absolutely love having Minkah around the box a lot. And y'all blitz him, which is something that grinds my gears sometimes. And I'm like, why are you taking the best center fielder, ball hawk that we have, and blitz him? Why don't you blitz one of them other, I ain't gonna call them out their name, but blitz one of them dudes with a number. How about you blitz number 23 more? How about you blitz number 31 more? I didn't understand why we didn't do that when all of those guys were healthy. No, we blitz Minkah. The best coverage safety, the best post safety on the team, you sent him on a blitz. I did not understand that. Even though, listen, Terrell Austin's defense has been, if you look at the stats and the numbers, it has been successful. So I can't beat him up too much. But I'm just saying, I never understood why they would do that so much with Minkah. If you want to play him close to the box, okay, and I didn't always like that, but I get it. But that blitzing him and leaving 23 back there? Mark Malone says, will Tomlin screw up Arthur Smith's offense? Well, Mark, we all know how your feelings towards Mike Tomlin as a head coach. But this is the only question I have back to that. Why are we asking that? Like, why? I don't. I feel like we give Mike Tomlin too much power, if you will. Now, yes, he's the head coach, so he has autonomy over everything. But why are we asking, is he going to screw up the offense? Did he screw up Canada's offense? Was that Canada or Tomlin? And I have another question. Those 4 games in with Mason Rudolph at the helm, and we were putting up 30 points, 34 here. Was that Tomlin screwing up the offense? Or was it the coordinators coordinating? So that's all I'm saying is, like, why do we always do that? Why do we always try to find somebody to blame, particularly the head coach, in an arena that ain't even his? Yeah, he makes decisions like we're running it. Because you hear that when you watch the little sideline clips. Let's not be, those clips where you hear him say, let's not be, let's be aggressive. Let's not live in our fears. He's making those type of decisions, but it ain't his offense. So how can he screw up the offense? But I don't know. It's, again, like I said, I know some of you guys you're just not a fan. But it's all good. I love entertaining it, man. Because, Mark is my man, even though he has no love. No love for Mike Tomlin, man. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else before I get to the phone calls? I don't see anything else, really. So we have a couple calls in the queue, man. So let's take the phone calls, and I'll come back to the chat after that. Again, phone calls, just giving y'all the heads up. Let's make it snappy. Let's not have these extremely long phone calls, please. Love to hear what you have to say, but I love hearing you say it in a short amount of time. So let's do it, man. First one in the queue, we have area code 302. What you got for us?
Hey, Sim. I just wanted to say I think our front office is starting to fall under the mindset of good enough isn't good enough, and I think it's aggressive, and I like that. I think for too long we've been seeing these players who do good enough to, be the starter at their position for a year or two, but ultimately, they can't get you where you ultimately want to be. And I feel like we have that in our quarterback room right now. I like Kenny Pickett, I really do, but I don't think him or Mason could ultimately take us to a Super Bowl. So I think we need to be aggressive and find us a guy who can, whether that's Fields or it's Wilson or it's a guy up top in the draft. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. W show.
Hey, man, appreciate the call. Thanks for calling. I'll definitely respond to that. Man, you make a good point. Can we confirm if the front office is thinking like that? Of course we can't, but it does kind of feel like that, right? Even the aggressiveness of Khan last year, and even though we didn't make a splash in free agency, I did feel like, and I think most of you guys felt the same way. I felt all the way throughout that offseason that they continued to try to make the roster better. And sometimes money is going to get in the way. You can't pay everybody. You're not always going to be able to acquire the best talent. But I definitely got the sense that Omar Khan and company didn't want to settle for what they had. They continued to try to improve it the best they could. So I'm very interested to see how this year will go with having, supposedly we're going to end up having a little decent amount of money. I am curious to see what type of splashes they attempt to make in free agency and how they draft. But you're right. And I will say this too. And some people kill me for this, but I agree with him wholeheartedly. I do like Kenny Pickett. Do I like the way Kenny Pickett has played largely? No. But I do still feel like that he has something. So let me draw the line. I've been saying this for the longest time, and I want to make sure for those of you that might be new watching the show, you understand my point. I think he has something. Kenny Pickett has had moments. What I just don't know is whether or not Kenny Pickett can consistently be something. That's what scares me about him. He bails the pocket entirely too much, and he doesn't always seem to see the field. But if Kenny Pickett is able to do those two things, I do think he's talented enough to be a good quarterback. Good enough to win the Super Bowl? I can't say that. I don't know. I'm just saying, again, from bare bones statement, I don't like how he has played as a Steeler largely. Yes, I've seen him play well. I've seen him even make throws. But his biggest problem, his Achilles heel, is bailing that pocket and not reading the field, which is something Mason Rudolph happened to do better than him in those 4 games that we saw Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph was hanging in that pocket, sometimes until the last second in making throws. And I used to get on Rudolph for not going through his progressions. Rudolph was showing times that he was going through his progressions. So I do believe if Kenny Pickett can do that, if he can somehow fix that, it's all in here. I think he has the physical tools to be a good quarterback. I just don't know if it will ever develop. So I am open for quarterback competition. Hey, I'm even open to them getting a new quarterback if they feel like that's what's best. So that's where I stand with that. Let's see. Next caller. We have area code 330. What you got for us?
Yeah, yo, what up?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
This is what I'm thinking. This offseason, we need to get ourselves a decent double corner. But I'm intrigued because there's some moves that I don't want them to make, but I would love for them to attempt it, as in Chase Young.
Chase Young. That's interesting. I don't think I would want that either. I don't think I would want to Chase Young. Only because I don't think Chase Young to me doesn't necessarily fit our scheme per se, because he's a legit DN. So you would talk about him if he played for the Steelers, it would have to be in base, because you're not taking TJ or Highsmith off the field in sub package like our typical pass rush. And I don't know if Chase Young good inside. Like, could he play alongside Cam Hayward as a D tackle in sub? I don't know. But to me, Chase Young isn't what he once was. And I don't know if that's injury, but that's just my opinion. I like him, but nah, I'm cool. Yeah, I'm cool. All right, and I think something happened with the caller there. Sound like he went out, so I don't know if he just asked a question, or maybe I didn't hear you. You might have just asked a question and that's all you had. But yeah, and hopefully I heard you correctly. But I think, guys, what he was saying was he was saying there's some moves that he doesn't want the Steelers to do, i.e. signing a guy like Chase Young. And I agree with him. Hold on, let me pull up the queue again. Give me a second. But I will ask, how do you guys feel about that? Real quick. How would you guys feel about Chase Young? Before I take the next caller, how would you guys feel about that? I mean, am I off in my assessment? You know, I don't know everything. I'm just feeling like Chase, to me, feels more like a typical DN. You know, like a 4-3 type of DN. And I just don't think he would be... Again, I don't think he's going to play, you know, sub-package D-tackle alongside Hayward, you know, or alongside Ogunjobi. Kenya says, nope. Somebody else says they don't think he fits the scheme. Yeah, me neither. Again, man, heck of a talent. But again, I don't think he's what he once was. But, you know, again, try not to get, and I'm not saying my man Daron did, I'm just saying in general for some people who are listening to this show that maybe might not know the ins and outs, don't always get caught up with names. You know, just because a guy has a name, it doesn't mean that he'll fit your team. And I think Chase Young is a clear example of that. We do have one more call, man. Area code 318. What you got for us?
Well, what's up, bro? I'm kind of late to the show. I didn't really know you was having one until I seen the update. But basically, free agency, man, I don't know if anybody discussed it, but I just think we need a safety, middle linebacker, and for sure get a center. I feel like that's the three pieces I feel like we should target for free agency. And middle linebacker, if we can just basically get that, you know, those three trios with Holcomb, Quan, and Landon, that'd be decent. But I feel like for us, like longevity, I feel like we need to draft one. And also, it's not dealing with free agency, but I feel like main thing, bro, we need to work on tackling, man. And I feel like we could have stopped so many, you know, we could have hit opponents to less points if we, you know, could have tackled, like, example, with Christian McCaffrey, that run. If we would have just tackled him, you know, it would have been, you know, we still probably would have lost, but it wouldn't have been as bad. But that's all I really got on. Just make it brief. Y'all have a great night.
Man, thanks for calling. Appreciate the call. Everybody, you know, a lot of us seem to be not remembering the inside linebacker position, man. We definitely need to address it. You know, out of the trio that we had, I'm almost inclined to say You know what? I can't say that. I was about to say I almost feel like I like Holcomb and Roberts more now than Holcomb and Quan. But, I'm remembering that Quan had some moments too, but I think Landon Roberts really showed me what he was about when both of those guys were down. And he just kept playing, even with injury. So I really like Landon Roberts a lot, man. He grew on me a lot, no doubt. But I do think we need a long-term option. To me, that would definitely be a draft type of guy. Looking at some of the free agents, I mean, I know this one is definitely not going to happen, but the second-rated inside linebacker, they said Patrick Queen is a free agent. I would be very surprised if the Ravens didn't sign him. Tyrell Dodson, inside backer for Buffalo Bills. He's decent. Some of the rest of these guys on the list, I do like Jerome Baker from Miami. Devin White is a free agent. Here's an interesting one. I actually happened to put him on my Madden team. Anthony Walker is a free agent. He's 29. Taki's 29. Jordan Hicks 32. A lot of these guys don't really have the youth that the Steelers a lot of times look for. They try to find these guys on those second-year contracts that are youthful. So I'll just read you some of those names. They have Quan Alexander here as a free agent. So remember, Quan only signed a one-year deal. Let's see. Who else is on this list? Because we have Holcomb for another year. I think it Landon Roberts as well, but I believe, Quan only signed a one-year deal. But looking at youth, this kid is okay. I don't know exactly how he would fit with us, but I do like Jordan Brooks from the Seahawks. He's 26. Kenneth Murray for the Chargers, 25. Again, I would really have to watch these guys though, and really pay attention to the scheme that are ran at those other teams and know if they would fit. I like this kid a lot. Alziz Al-Shir. I think I'm saying his name correctly for the Titans. He's 27. Not too old. Jerome Baker's 27. Obviously Patrick Queen at 25 and Dodson at 26. So again, I think what the Steelers are going to look for, of course, if they go that route, and if they get one of these guys, I think if they go with the free agents of that caliber, that's going to be one of your starters, right? If they go with more of a lower tier guy, like a guy that's more on Cole Holcomb, Quan Alexander, or Landon Roberts level, that would make me believe that they might be looking for somebody in the draft. I don't know all the prospects yet. Like I told y'all, I'm always late to that party. Kenyon usually shoots me a list, and I'm good with watching film and evaluating, but I don't a lot of times know these guys in advance. So I don't know who the prospects are or how deep the inside linebacker position is in the draft. But I would say my preference would be if we could draft a guy. And the reason why I say that is because I want long-term. I would want long-term. You know what I mean? Like somebody that we could, I hate even saying his name, man, because there's no comparison. But, I want us to find another guy like a Shazier, not just play style. I'm just talking about that was clearly your linebacker of the future. And clearly he was going to have longevity. I want that at inside linebacker because the inside backer position is so important in Pittsburgh. And it has so much historical, like just like our edge rushers. The inside backer, excuse me, guys, sneezing all over the place. The inside backer has a lure to it, so it's like I don't want to just keep getting these plug and play guys. So my preference would be draft a guy that could be your long-term starter at one of those spots, one of the inside spots. So we'll see how it goes, but we definitely need to address. Listen, those positions are inside backer, strong safety, cornerback, and obviously center. I think those positions are the top positions, even more so than offensive tackle. Because again, whether you hate or love Dan Moore, he's serviceable enough, I guess. What I mean by that is if the Steelers, I think other positions might be more pressing than that because, you know, you have Broderick Jones, you probably going to get some type of swing type of tackle or whatever in free agency. So I don't want to say it's not as important, but I think the Steelers like Dan Moore more than some of the fans do, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that's a pressing, a pressing position for them. I think more so is going to be center, inside backer, strong safety, and of course the cornerback position. And then let's not forget quarterback. I'm not talking first round unless they come out swinging and they surprise everybody, but we still got to do something at the QB spot via backup. So it's going to be interesting. All right, man, we'll take one more call for the night, man, and then we'll get out of here. Area code 817, what you got for us?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, look, I'm going to take a different approach. A lot of guys may not like this, but what you have to do if you're Omar Khan, Pittsburgh has too much heat on them right now. You have to take the Los Angeles Rams approach, and you have to go out and play to win this year. Therefore, I understand Justin Fields. Justin Fields isn't yet complete in terms of knowing if he's going to take you to the Super Bowl. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going out, I'm getting Kirk Cousins. I wasn't a big fan of Kirk Cousins, never have been, but I think Kirk Cousins is the only QB right now that can take you to the Super Bowl. And he can give you Big Ben type of stat numbers with GP, with Deontay. First round, I said I'd go left tackle. The reason why I say don't go Justin Fields is because you don't want to give up picks. You need picks for the future. I say first round, you go O-line. Second round, you go O-line. Third round, you go corner. Then I say fifth that round, fourth round, I say you go to quarterback and you go get the guy from Tulane, the QB from there, and then you go out and get a middle linebacker. But I'm building to win right now. You got to get the heat off of Mike Tomlin. You got to get the heat off the Steelers organization. Go out, get Kirk Cousins, take the Rams approach like they did with Matt Stafford, and you go win right now. That's all I got, Sam.
Oh, my bad, guys. I'm on mute. My bad. I'm on mute. Sorry. Let me start over. So first and foremost, what I was saying was thank you for the call. I think the area code 817 may be a first-time caller, so I appreciate the call first and foremost. So if you are, thank you. And I also was saying to you guys, I know some of y'all are probably wondering why I keep doing this. I'm turning my speakers down because I'm not using headphones anymore. So I'm turning the speaker up and down to hear people on the call. All right, so let me reflect to what my man said there. First off, respect the opinion. I definitely respect feeling like, listen, we need to take the win now approach. I get it. You know, I don't think nobody is wrong in terms of how we feel, whether you want to be a win now type of fan or if you want to be a build later type of fan, or if you want to be like my man Wave Dave said, hey, the Steelers have won 6 rings doing them. Why be anybody else? I get all of that because we're all ready to win. But here's the only question I have for you guys about Kirk Cousins. And I'm going to ask this question. It's just a question. I'm not dissing Kirk Cousins or rooting for Kirk Cousins. I'm just going to ask a basic question. What is it about Kirk Cousins at quarterback that makes some of you guys think that the Steelers win the Super Bowl? What is it? Do you think the Steelers team is just a better team than he's had in Minnesota? Or what he may have had in Washington, even though that was years ago? Like, what is it about Kirk Cousins that somebody who hasn't been to the Super Bowl, at least to my knowledge he hasn't, what is it that you think makes him automatic for the Steelers to get to the Super Bowl? And I'm just asking that objectively. Again, I'm not dissing Kirk Cousins. I'm just asking objectively for those of you that feel like, man, let's go get Kirk. Cool, I respect that. But what is it about Cousins that makes you think you plug him in and the Steelers get to the Super Bowl and perhaps win it? Put that in the comments. Doc Storm says, Kirk will play great most of the year. Then, what he say? Then whiff during the big games and lose. Okay. Let's see. Anybody else on Kirk Cousins? MT Mooch says, never been a fan of Kirk, but look at what he had. Produced stats wise in Minnesota with JJ. Okay. What else y'all got? Still 43 says, nothing to me. Lee Sharp says he's a gunslinger. Okay, but I'm asking, does him being a gunslinger get us to the Super Bowl and possibly win the Super Bowl? Neil Shanoy says, I like Cousins because he's confident in the pocket. Yeah, I'm not knocking. Listen, and I'll say this too out of my own mouth. When Cousins is on, he's on. Like, there's no question that Kirk Cousins can play quarterback and throw that ball. There ain't no question. Kirk Cousins sometimes has made phenomenal throws and have had great games. But do I personally feel like, man, you put this guy in a Steelers uniform, we go to the Super Bowl? I don't know. The only thing that would give me any slight chance of saying it's possible is if our defense is playing at the same level. If we have the defense that we had, I'll say even going back to the 2022 season, if we have that stout defense, could Kirk Cousins do enough to go deep in the playoffs? And possible, because he does have the skill. And maybe it wouldn't be, we're not putting it on him to win the game. But other than that, Y Diggy says, Kirk is coming off an Achilles and he's 35 years old. He says, I'm good on that. Black Thanos, my man, says, Kirk ain't did nothing. I don't trust him. So that's all I'm saying, man. Listen, I'm not, poo-pooing on anybody's idea. I was just saying I wanted to know, because the reason why I wanted to ask that here is y'all have seen it the same way I've seen it. There's been so much talk of Kirk Cousins to Pittsburgh and Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh. Now, Russell Wilson has won a Super Bowl. Justin Fields to Pittsburgh. Like, we're seeing all of this stuff, and it's like, which guy do y'all automatically say, oh, the Super Bowl is won if the Steelers get that guy? I don't think it's none of them. Maybe, the only reason why I could even say Russell is because Russell's done it. But I don't even know if that's, I just try not to be a wishful thinking type of Steeler fan. I try not to do that. I try to look at everything objectively. Even the Justin Fields thing, right? Two things that I would tell y'all. I wouldn't be opposed to these two things if you just wanted to see if it would work. If Russell Wilson, because he said supposedly he said he'd be willing to sign a veteran minimum, blah, blah. If Russell Wilson wanted to sign a veteran minimum and we brought him in to compete with Kenny Pickett or help Kenny Pickett become better, I'm all for that. I'm all for seeing Russell Wilson playing as a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback at the vet minimum that didn't cost as much. Why not? Even though he's probably not the long-term guy, obviously, because of how long he's been in the league already. Well, I'm all for it. Also, if it didn't cost the Steelers a ton, I wouldn't even be opposed to Justin Fields. Not because I think Justin Fields is that great, But the potential of a guy like that being able to build up a guy with those physical tools. The same thing I say about Kenny Pickett. I do think Justin Fields has physical tools. Strong arm, can run. You know, he's not a scrawny guy. You know, he can lower the shoulder. You know, he's athletic. I wouldn't be upset if the Steelers went that route and they just wanted to kick the tires. I'm not saying I'm asking for it. I'm just saying, as a fan, there's certain things that if my team does it, I'm either going to get behind it or not. I would get behind both of those things, even though that's not my preference. If the Steelers decide that they're going in either one of those directions and it made sense monetarily, I'm all for it. Y'all know I'm a Russell Wilson guy. Most of y'all know that. Some of y'all don't. You know, he's from my hometown, Richmond, Virginia. I'm always repping Richmond, even though York, Pennsylvania is now my home. I've been here for so long. But born and raised in VA, man, I'm always rooting for VA athletes. And again, Russell Wilson is from the crib, dog. I've been a huge fan of Russell Wilson because of the way he's played football in the NFL. I'm talking Seattle. And Kenya would even tell you how much I admired the deep ball of Russell Wilson in his heyday. So, yeah, if the Steelers wanted to kick the tires on that and they ain't cost them nothing, to sure. Of course I would take that. But that is not my long-term plan. That's not what I would do right now. It doesn't mean I would be upset if it happened. So I hope you guys understand the difference. The only reason why I probably wouldn't be as happy about a Kirk Cousins, even though, again, I'm one of those people who actually like Kirk Cousins. You know, he just has, unfortunately, he just falls apart sometimes. But I do like him largely as a quarterback. The only reason why I wouldn't be cool with that, because I think it's going to cost. And I personally, at this stage of the Steelers franchise, I personally don't want to tie up big money in a veteran quarterback. I'd rather us find our Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. I'd rather us find that guy. The guy that we drafted, he's balling, doing his rookie contract. You know, I'd rather find that long-term guy. 04 Ben Roethlisberger. Not talking about Ben's talent. I'm just talking about the approach. I'd rather do that, like how we got Kenny right now on the cheap, versus dropping all this money on an older veteran who's not going to give you but so many years left. That would be my preference. But that's all I got, man. We got about 5 minutes, man. Let me see. Yeah, about 5 minutes. I was keeping this show to about an hour. I'm surprised we got this far. The phone calls really helped tonight. What y'all got, man? Anything y'all want to say? Leave it in the chat. I will respond to it. Dark Storm says Kirk wants top money. See, I ain't willing to give that to Kirk Cousins right now. No disrespect. I just don't want to do that. As a Steelers fan, from a business standpoint, I don't want to do that. Not with an older guy. MT Mooch says, Sim, you have to understand that the defense is getting old. Yeah. You have to go out with a win now mentality. You know what? I can't refute that. You're right. You know, one of my favorite Steelers of all time. Yes, I said it. Cam Hayward will go down as one of my favorite Steelers of all time. And I might just buy his jersey this year. I'm fearful that Cam might not win and get a ring. I'm getting fearful that TJ Watt might not get a ring with the Steelers. Because, again, how long will TJ be able to play at the level he's playing? TJ almost 30, man. If I'm not mistaken, TJ, he's right there, 29, 30. And, again, you know, guys can play well into their 30s, but you know what happens, technically, in sports, especially when you play that hard. The way TJ plays, how long can he maintain that? Everybody ain't LeBron James. We ain't never seen nothing like that. That man 39 years old and still, okay, that's basketball, but I'm just saying. Football, you don't really see that. Where they're super effective and they're playing at a high rate at a certain age. So, you're right, Darkstorm. I am a little concerned about that, man. I mean, not Dark Storm. It was MT Mooch. What else y'all got? Kenya says, build around Pickett and see what he does in a new offense. Get him a legit left tackle. And if he fails, draft the QB in 25. I'm with that too. Me and Kenyon have been talked about that. You know, he's just telling y'all that. But I'm absolutely on board with what Kenyon said. That's the most likely scenario. Listen, give that boy the third year. Clearly, Art Rooney has said that. Clearly, Mike Tomlin has said that. Kenny Pickett is going into this season as the starter. Build everything you can around him. See what he does with Arthur Smith. If he doesn't pan out in year 3, then we go looking for somebody else in 25. And that's just how it goes. Sam Darnold. Nah, cool. Cool. Let's see, guys. We got about another minute. Yeah, Mooch. Listen, in theory, MT Mooch, I'm with you, brother. In theory, I really am. Like, and that's the thing that, I sit up here and talk to you guys all the times, but a lot of times I really do feel both sides of the coin. Like, I'm with you too as a fan. I don't want to waste the years of a TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and Minka and Highsmith coming on. Like, I want that core 4 right there to have a chance to at least try to get it in the next 2 to 3. Because you just don't know, when those dudes start getting older and retiring, you don't know what you're getting behind them. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Jersey Boy says the Bears looking for a sucker. Oh, man. Last one. Straight Shot 033 says, I think the best player available in a spot like that is gonna land us a tackle in this draft. Which I wouldn't be against. Maybe a Mims around that area. Yeah, listen, man. I ain't gonna be mad if we go tackle either. It's sad to say we got a lot that we need. What up, Floyd? Floyd says Russ did beat Josh and Patty this year. Yeah, he right. See, cousin Floyd, man, he know. Again, Russ from the crib. I'm always going with these. I'm welcoming him in with these. Come on in, Russ. Come on in. And I'm telling you, if Russell Wilson ends up being the Steelers quarterback, I might go to 5 games this year. Just because, like I told y'all, I am a Russell Wilson fan, and the boy is from my city. Call me biased. But Russell, and Kenyon will tell you, he is my witness. I have talked about how pure Russell Wilson's deep ball used to be, man. Like, Russell Wilson was that dude. He defied the odds, man. He beat the odds. 3rd round draft pick. Too small for the position, and the dude, he's a baller. Has his game fell off a little bit? Maybe a little bit, but even in Denver, he started turning it on late. So I wouldn't be mad at that, because to me, I'll say this. As a veteran, that might be the cheapest option if he decides to do vet minimum. I would not be mad at that at all. Let him compete. And if Russell beats out Kenny, it is what it is. And that's how I see that one. So I'll go ahead and end it right there, man. But as far as like Penix and all of them dudes, I just don't think I wouldn't want you guys to get your hopes up thinking the Steelers gonna go draft a 1st round quarterback. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniel. I don't think any of that is on the card. I just don't think it's on the cards. Because again, man, more so than even the coach who's always going to speak correctly, Art Rooney said it. Art Rooney basically stamped it. And unless they throw in a smoke signal, he basically said Kenny Pickett will be given this 3rd year. He's our guy. I want to see what he can do with a new offense. That comes out of the owner's mouth. And y'all know most of the time when Rooney says something, that's usually what ends up happening. There's usually no smoke signal there. So don't go getting your hopes up and being pissed off draft night when they've already been telling you that Kenny Pickett is going to be the guy coming into camp as the starter in year 3. And y'all should know that as Steelers fans, because the magic number 3, that third year is what they say about every player. So that's all. But all right, man, I'm going to get out of here, man. Go ahead and wrap this one up, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in, of course. Look, if you haven't already, if you liked the video tonight, if you've been watching and you like the content, hit that like button. If you like the content largely, subscribe to the channel. And then after that, once you are subscribed, click on that notification bell so you know when we are streaming and or videos have been uploaded. But outside of that, man, I'm going to give y'all your night back. I thank y'all for spending some time with me tonight, of course. Make sure y'all stay safe out there, man. God bless. Good night. Stay healthy. Some virus is going around and it's catching everybody. So stay healthy out there, man. And like always, thank y'all for tuning in to Terrible Towel Tuesday. I shall catch you guys in the next one. Peace.